Continuing from the previous episode, now on the battlefield. The Vert family is battling with the monsters. A bird-shaped monster is struck and terminated. As the battle gradually concludes, the patriarch calls out to everyone, check if anyone's been injured. The soldiers respond, everyone is okay. The patriarch, satisfied, commends, good work. Let's hurry back. His attention is caught by someone. Meanwhile, Cyan has just finished off another monster. His sword is sheathed. Cyan's father inquires, how are you adjusting to life on the front lines? Cyan respectfully replies, I'm learning something new every day, father. Surprised, his father asks, is that so? I thought you'd want to hurry back. You've endured for quite some time. I'm very proud of you. He then leaves, leaving Cyan pondering over his unexpected praise. He says, I have something to talk to you about tomorrow, so come to my tent early in the morning. Cyan responds, yes, father, and thinks to himself, I've never seen father be so kind before. Now, at the monster territory during the night, sounds of movement and intense attacks echo everywhere. A large monster is attacking something underground. Cyan manages to move to avoid the attack. Observing, he remarks, a death worm. They should usually only appear deeper into the valley. Karam suggests, Master, you seem to be struggling. Why don't you let me take over instead? Cyan confirms, let you take over? You think I'm unaware of your schemes? Karam assures, it's not like that. I swear I'll use it for a bit and then allow you to take over. Do you see that? It immediately regenerates any shallow injuries. It won't be of any use to keep attacking him. Cyan agrees with her thought and thinks, she's right. This will just continue on forever at this rate. It's already been a month since I've come to the front lines. I've drunk the blood of countless demonic beasts. But I feel that still wasn't enough. The death worm appears before him, ready to devour him. Cyan makes a decision. I guess I have no choice. I'll play along with whatever you're planning for now. Karam happily acknowledges, alright, let's go wild. The fusion process begins. Thick fog ninth form demonic sword manifestation. Soon, Cyan's body is enveloped in blood chi. In a moment, the entire body of the death worm is cut into pieces by sharp swords. Cyan asserts, I'll rip your thick skin to pieces. The image of Cyan merges with the demonic sword and the crimson moon. A skill is executed. Fog sword. 8 fluttering petals. The technique slashes through the body of the death worm. Cyan successfully kills it, cutting the monster's body into several pieces. Elsewhere on the battlefield, someone examines the monster's bloodstains and remarks, it hasn't been long since it was killed. Yulkin, holding a torch, comments from behind, the mana seems quite imposing. Could it have been a demon that did this? Cyan's father states, we cannot overlook this if a demon was involved. He then orders, inspect the area and burn this corpse immediately. The soldiers comply. Looking at the sword traces on the monster's body, he silently wonders, these sword traces look familiar. Is it just déjà vu? Yulkin seems to have noticed something and notifies, Your Grace, I think you need to see this. In front of them lies the corpse of the death worm. Yes, it's a death worm. Who could have slain a death worm like this? Could it have been that organization? Demonic sword manifestation. It lets Karam take over my body so that she can use her true powers. But she can completely take over me if I let my guard down. Now, at Cyan's location, he lies on the bed, exhausted, which is why me using her to take down just one monster is actually insane. Cyan groans, my entire body is sore. It's a good thing I drank all that demonic beast blood. Had it been a month ago, my body would have broken down. Karam evaluates the situation. I get it now, it's just your outer appearance that's of a kid, you don't act or talk like one. The level at which you handle me is too proficient for a first-timer. You know the entire geography of the Lamia Valley too. Your sword techniques are that of mists, and it's as if you've trained it for 30 years at least. Plus, you said you've already died once, no? I'm certain now, you're a regressor, right? Cyan replied with a nonchalant foolish expression, doesn't it imply that if I say that I already died before? I thought I made it obvious enough. Karam felt heavy with silence. She angrily retorted, how is it obvious when you haven't explained anything? Cyan casually replied, I'm too lazy for that. Karam continued, anyway, killing someone like you must have been hard. If I were to guess, you were killed by the owner of Duran Dark. There are two possibilities, you were either killed in a duel, or betrayed, and I feel it was definitely the latter. Cyan inquired, why do you think that? Karam responded, you look at the holy sword like you stepped in shit. I'd be an idiot if I couldn't tell from that. So your goal must be revenge. Either way, just keep this in mind. If I catch you faltering or losing, I'm going to swallow you up. Cyan immediately punched Karam, sending her flying. With a disdainful expression, Cyan said, "Know your place. I'm not an idiot." Karam spun in silence. Cyan smiled, thinking to herself, she hasn't changed at all. She's the same as she was in my previous life. At this moment, Cyan left her camp. Observing the atmosphere around her, she thought, what's happening? It seems a bit chaotic today. Emily approached. Young Master Tilda. You're up. Cyan asked. Yeah, Emily. Did something happen? Emily replied with a worried expression. Yes, apparently, a high-level monster's corpse was found near the entrance of the valley. Cyan realized the issue. Is she talking about the death worm? Emily continued. It's been so long since there was a sighting of a high-level monster near the camps. Cyan feared being discovered as the one who killed the death worm, hastily asking Emily, anything else? Emily was flustered. Cyan tried to inquire further. Was there any talk of anything else? Like sightings of a suspicious person or something about me? The conversation was interrupted by the appearance of Yulkin. He approached from behind and said, Young Master Cyan, the Duke wants to see you right away. Cyan felt uneasy, silently evaluating, this is a pain. I couldn't take care of the corpses of the monsters. Because the soldiers suddenly appeared out of nowhere. My plan was to enjoy a quiet life before entering the academy. Shit. Cyan, now at her father's camp, bowed respectfully to him. I, the youngest son of the Verts, greet my father. I secretly think, father would notice that it was me. Cyan's father responds with a serious tone and requests him to sit down. Cyan thinks, if he asks me about yesterday's incident, what kind of excuse can I even make? At this point, Cyan's father asks, I'll be direct. What were you doing last night? Cyan responds anxiously, I went to bed early as I was tired. Upon receiving the answer, Cyan's father thinks, went to bed early? But those sword traces reminded me of Cyan's sword techniques. Was I overthinking it? Cyan pretends not to know and asks, why do you ask? His father doesn't respond, thinking, it's hard to believe that a child this young could have slain a death worm. Plus, Cyan notices he's not answering and asks further, Father? Is something bothering you? He says, I'm sure you've heard about what happened near the camps last night. We'll have to look into it more, but it seems like the doing of a secret assassin organization, Mist. Cyan feigns ignorance about it. His father continues, it's an organization that has existed since ancient times. We do not know of their goals, but they have assassinated countless nobles under the excuse of purification. They're infamous for leaving behind a black fog wherever they are. But one day, they disappeared. They were last seen 300 years ago. But, the corpse of the death worm from last night was shrouded in black fog. Black fog is the trace left behind by Eru, the god of darkness. The very god worshipped by the Mist, and the source of their power. If my assumptions are correct, it was Mist that slew the death worm and the other demonic beasts. Cyan then internally marvels, that's amazing. He was able to precisely pinpoint who the culprit was, despite the organization having been last seen 3 centuries ago. His father advises, we can't guess the reason for their sudden appearance, but you should be careful. Nonetheless, I'll notify the Empire about this and investigate further. Cyan obediently responds, yes, father. Cyan also lightly thinks, I guess this means he's gonna believe me? His father at this point thinks, it'd make no sense for Cyan to be involved with such an organization when he's this young. Then he says, that's enough for this conversation. Were you told who's visiting today? Cyan replies, I did hear that His Majesty will be visiting, but was that supposed to be today? His father smiles and says, yes. I wanted to ask you for a favor regarding that. Cyan curiously and anxiously asks again. At this moment, a soldier's voice interrupts, announcing, here comes His Majesty, the Emperor. Cyan's father is now outside kneeling down, saying, I, the Lord of Velyas, greet the Honorable Emperor, His Majesty. The king appears on horseback, calling him Viliarth. At this moment, the king dismounts and approaches Viliarth, helping him up and saying, we're old friends. Don't be so polite. Though he has the king's permission, Viliarth still feels some apprehension. Your Majesty. The king's gaze now turns towards Cyan's position. Oh, is it that child? Cyan bows and replies, I greet the Honorable Emperor, His Majesty. I'm Cyan Vert, the youngest of the Verts. The king compliments, for a boy this young to be residing in such a rough environment. Your children are definitely different from the ordinary ones. Cyan, feeling comfortable, thinks, I was wondering what the favor was going to be, but he just wanted me to appeal myself as his son. I was always cooped up in the mansion in my past life when the Emperor visited. Let's go inside, young master. Whoa, Tilda, look over there, Emily. It's the Emperor. I'm so deeply touched by father's trust. At this moment, the king calls a servant and says, splendid. I wanted to introduce someone as well. From the horse-drawn carriage, a beautiful woman appears. She introduces herself as Orin Severus. Cyan looks at the princess and thinks, Orin Severus, the tragic fifth princess. After some greetings, Cyan and his father are now in the camp, where his father tells him, you'll need to escort Princess Orin for the day. Cyan wonders about the significance of the task he's been given. His father reassures him, no need to be so surprised. You just need to keep her company. You're the same age as her. You'll see her once you enter the academy too. Cyan recalls seeing her at the academy in his past life. I saw her a few times between classes. Villiarth then says, there's no harm in becoming acquainted with someone of the royal family. It won't be long, but I just want you to get along. Cyan silently evaluates, I don't really want to do it, but I understand father's intentions. He probably wishes that we develop a friendship like he has with the Emperor. But he's picked the wrong person for it. She cannot become my friend. Although I can't say that since that's a future only I know of. It's annoying, but I'll have to just be obedient for now. At this point, images of the battlefield appear. Orin asks, why is that river so red? Cyan explains, you mean the Blood River? It's a stream that runs through the entirety of the Lamia Valley. There isn't any complex reason as to why the water is red. The demonic beasts, old or injured and unable to fairly compete for survival with others, instinctively leap into the Blood River. Their corpses and bodily fluids dissolve into the river, turning it red from mana-induced decomposition. Orin, alarmed, asks, so that's all demonic beasts' bodily fluids and corpses? Cyan replies, yes, they also drink and wash in it. It's very disgusting. Don't go in it. Orin grimaces and asks further, gross. What's at the end of the river? Cyan responds, the demon realm. Orin questions, demon realm? Where the demons live? Cyan, with a mischievous smile, answers, yes, if you keep following this river, you'll even meet the Demon King. He silently thinks that no sane person would do that, finding it amusing to tease her. At this moment, the sky signals with a flare shot up. Orin curiously asks, what's that light? Cyan explains, that's the third sentry post in the west. A yellow light signifies incoming demonic beasts. Orin, somewhat fearful, questions, there are demonic beasts here? Cyan's father orders, protect His Majesty. Guardian Night Division troops will come with me to the third sentry post in the west. The king, with a cheerful face, says, don't be like that, Villiarth. Your Majesty? You think I'm here to go on a hike? I've been starting to get really bored, anyway. Though hesitant, Villiarth reluctantly complies. All right, Your Majesty. The king proclaims, we will join in the demonic beast raid. Focus on killing the demonic beasts until the raid is over. All the soldiers respond in unison, yes, Your Majesty. Cyan's father turns to him and says, you join too, Cyan. Cyan quickly responds, yes, father. The princess incredulously asks, you can fight the demonic beasts? Cyan answers, yes, although I'm still just supporting from the back. You should get to the shelter. Orin hastily demands, take me with you. Upon receiving the request, Cyan wonders, what the hell is this kid saying? The attendant beside her tries to stop her, but Orin insists, you said you're the same age as me. Then I can come too. Cyan warns, people die here. It's not a playground. Orin persists, I don't care. I'm going, and no one can stop me. Cyan, frustrated with Erin's stubbornness, angrily calls his knight, Yulkin. Yulkin, with a terrifying demeanor, says from behind, yes, young master. I, Yulkin, will substitute the royal knights and escort Her Highness to safety in the camps. Let's go, Your Highness. Orin, somewhat scared but still defiant, exclaims, impudent. How dare you treat me, a princess, in such a manner? Cyan, with a menacing look, leans close to Erin's face and says, dozens of knights might die because of your stubbornness. A split-second decision can decide your fate of either dying or surviving in a war. Can you take responsibility for all those lives? Hearing this, Orin felt so scared that she almost burst into tears. Cyan walked away, leaving her behind with the knights and saying, go back if you're gonna cry like a child, Your Highness. At this moment, Orin could only stand and watch Cyan leave in silence. At the center of the battlefield, a monster resembling a giant snail was devouring the small soldiers. The soldiers cheered each other on. "Do not fall back. Halt." Viliarth appeared, brandishing his sword and shouting, "Get back into formation. Protect His Majesty and slay all the monsters. Do not spare even a single one of them." Upon hearing his command, all the soldiers charged into battle with unwavering determination.